How's it going? Welcome to the review presented by Trifecta Network. In this episode, we're going to talk about the car sharing services. Um, Basically, Maven is one of them. We're going to talk about Enterprise Car Share. We're going to talk about Zipcar, and what's the benefits of using all three. What's one I prefer? I have used all three of these services. Maven's owned by General Motors, so the cars you're going to get through Maven are going to be Chevrolets, Cadillac, GMC, and Buick. The car I tested with Maven was a Cadillac ATS. An Enterprise. You're gonna have Enterprise. You're gonna have any car from. They have the Buicks. They have the Chevrolet Cruises. They have the Nissan Altimas. They have the Toyotas. They have more of the entry level vehicles for Enterprise. Enterprise obviously is known as a rental company, but they're in the car sharing business, and they're in Boston. So if you're looking for Boston, this is definitely something more specific to that and what service you should use. Zipcar is another company in that industry, and with Zipcar, it's interesting. They've been around for a while. They definitely have had more of a market share in terms of Boston, definitely more usage and more vehicles. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So the different services, how you get into them is you basically apply, use your license number. You have to valid license, do a background check, make sure that you haven't been in accidents, and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you have a valid license, essentially. So they all go through that process. Some of them have these one-time application fees. I know Zipcar, I think, is 25, but if you apply through an organization like I did, we actually waive that annual that fee basically to join. Maven, it's free for everybody in terms of applying. So anybody can apply to Maven, no cost, no charge. And then with Enterprise, I actually had mine waived. It's normally $30, but I think they waive it for most people. So it's part of a deal with them. The thing with all three of these is that they're all very different in terms of location. If you're in Boston, if you're towards kind of the outside of the city, where I am over here on Huntington Avenue, there's more Zip cars than Enterprises. There's more within a quarter mile than any other car. Maven, I believe, for me is about 0.75 miles away. Zipcar, there's one literally 2 minutes outside my door. Enterprise is like a 5 to 10 minute walk, so it's not too bad. But the thing is, with if you're gonna go get groceries with one of these vehicles, you're gonna go play golf. You're not gonna carry your golf bags or your groceries more than a couple minutes because that defeats the purpose of actually using the car in the first place. So that's kind of the thing with these vehicles. Price point wise, in terms of per hour, I drove a Honda Civic with the Zipcar. It was $12.50 an hour, which is a bit high. For Maven, their Cadillac ATS was $11 an hour. So here's a key differentiation to why Maven's actually they can charge a lesser amount for the vehicles is because they're owned by General Motors, and General Motors actually makes the cars they're doing, so they don't actually have to buy, where Enterprise or Zipcar actually have to buy from the manufacturer or from a dealership in order to make it. So they actually have to charge more per hour, where GM made these cars so they obviously can rent them out at a lesser cost. So 11 per hour for a Cadillac compared to 12.50 for a Honda Civic is not a fair comparison. It certainly isn't. I mean, obviously it's a higher car, but for Maven, you can get an $8, I think, Chevy Cruze or something like that per hour. So it definitely is a cheaper method than Zipcar. The thing with Enterprise is pretty interesting because they actually have 650 an hour options, 750 an hour options. I think the Nissan Altima I tested with them was an $8 an hour option. So they definitely have a cheaper in terms of per hour. Per day, I would say it depends on what day you're going. With these services, it seems that like Zipcar will do, they'll do like surge charging. So if you say you drive in the middle of the night, it's like I think I looked up, it's like $6.25 an hour for the same vehicle. During the day, it's $12.50. So obviously it's supply and demand with them, but with a company like Enterprise, it's a little bit different. It's going to be the same price 24/7. So you're not really getting screwed there. Zipcar seems to have better daily rates. I think they're like $99 for a whole day of a vehicle, where Enterprise is similarly priced. It really depends on how long you plan on taking the car. And Maven doesn't really do daily rates in terms of their sedans, but I think they had a couple Chevrolet Tahoes that I was looking at. They give them for the day. I think they're around 150. So it's all very different. These three companies, they're all in the market here. They're all pretty competitive. Zipcar, I think, has more locations. Enterprise is second in locations, then Maven's third, but Maven's one of the newer ones at the market. You have a lot of benefits with Maven. You have all leather seats in the car if you care about that. You care about more luxury items. The ATS had plenty of options where, a Zipcar or an Enterprise might not have as fancy as options on the car in terms of what it can do and how good the car actually rides. But if you're just looking for a vehicle to get you around, between the three services, I would actually recommend Enterprise simply because location-wise, there's enough locations where you're not going to walk more than a half mile to get the vehicle, which is beneficial in Boston. So it's not too bad in terms of that per hour. I mean, $12.50 an hour for a Zipcar, unless you're literally like grabbing your golf bags or doing groceries, it's not worth it for one of those vehicles. Where Enterprise, you're paying half the price for the same car. So it is interesting how it works. I think it's going to depend on what kind of day, but if you're looking just to get one service, I think I'd recommend Enterprise simply because it's cheaper per hour for the car, and the cars seem to be newer, nicer, and just less use on these vehicles, where I think Zipcar has more wear and tear. If you live basically where Maven is, I would recommend Maven, or just signing up for Maven in general, just because it is free to sign up. So you have that option. You can compare prices depending on what you're doing. So you're going to a wedding or something, you want a nicer car, I think Maven's probably the better option in terms of that. So how do you use these three services? They all have apps, all have applications, they all have websites, although Maven, you only do it on the app itself in terms of requesting for a car. Maven's also pretty interesting because the other two ones, Enterprise and Zipcar, they have key cards that they ship to you in 3 to 5 days. And these cards, they unlock the car essentially for you, and they also lock the vehicle in terms of starting your reservation. With Enterprise, you tap it for the first time, let you in, you have the key in the car, use the key the whole time, the actual key for the car. Use the entire time of your reservation, you leave with the key, leave with, if you're leaving to go get a cup of coffee, get out of the car, and you take the key with you. So this might seem like a normal event of anybody who's ever driven a car. So this is where the other two services actually completely differ. Zipcar has the key inside the car, and with them, the issue is when you leave the car, you're supposed to leave the key in the car. So say you go get groceries with Zipcar, you leave the key in your car. In order to lock the vehicle, you need to use the key card that they give you on top of the windshield every time to unlock and lock the vehicle. You always leave the actual key of the car inside that vehicle, which is extremely weird in terms of that. You get a lot of looks, actually, when you're doing that in terms of going to the grocery store. People are like, what is this guy doing unlocking his vehicle with a key card? It's odd, and maybe it's not the best way, but that's the way they do it. Maven is actually even odder. There's no keys in Maven. It's all push to start with the GM vehicles, and it's all unlocked. So a couple years back, OnStar, which is a GM company as well, developed unlocking the car technology in terms of they can do it remotely, you can do it with your phone. They did a couple years ago where GM, you could actually download an app and unlock your General Motors vehicle with your actual smartphone. So this is how Maven works. You download the app, you reserve the vehicle, you open up the phone, you have to have your Bluetooth connection on, and you can unlock the vehicle from that. And at that point, you only use your phone to unlock and lock the vehicle. Your phone has to have charge. If it's dead, you're pretty much out of luck. You have to call OnStar and have them actually unlock the vehicle for you. Another thing with that is that if you lose Bluetooth connection at all, once you get in the vehicle, you actually have to have your phone connected to the car in order for the car to start, because your phone's actually the key. So it signifies your phone as the key. And I actually ran into an issue using Maven. I actually got out of the car, locked the vehicle, came back to the car 2 minutes later, unlocked the vehicle. And by the time I got in the car, it already disconnected the Bluetooth. So I had to reconnect my phone to the car to then start the car, because the car wouldn't start for about 2 minutes, which is extremely frustrating. And if it's raining too, and if you're parked outside with the vehicle, and you have your phone out, you're getting your phone wet in the rain. And I felt like the Bluetooth connection was actually a little slow with Maven in terms of connecting to the vehicle. Took a couple minutes. Thought the app was a little faulty. You had to open and close it a couple times. So maybe that was just my experience with my phone, but it seems like there's a lot of things that could go wrong when you're using Maven in terms of that. I think Zipcar is the same way. Enterprise, to me, the fact that you are using an actual key gives you a lot more reassurance. I'd say the one issue with that is that with Zipcar and with Maven, you can actually unlock the vehicles prior to reservation. So say you have an 11 o'clock start, 11 a.m., you show up 10:56, 10:57, even 10:50. With Zipcar and Maven, you can open that vehicle if it's there without any additional charge. With Enterprise, you actually cannot open the vehicle until 11 o'clock. So you have to wait till 11 o'clock to open your vehicle. So you have to basically stand around. If it's cold, it's raining, it's snowing, or if it's inside a garage, it's fine. But That's a little more of a pain in the ass with Enterprise. They should let you in the vehicle if you're there a little bit early. Obviously, if it's more than 30 minutes early, whatever. But you can only reserve their vehicles on the 30-minute marks. So I think personally, if you're over, say it's 10:35, you should be able to get in the vehicle, especially if it's not reserved. I think that's something they should do. That's what Zipcar does. What Maven does. I think Enterprise, if they're looking to upgrade their services, I think that's the way they do it. Because I do think Enterprise is the way to go. But in terms of the future, I really do see General Motors dominating the space just because they can afford to let these cars go out for an hour for a cheaper rate than anybody else. You can't really compete if you're running a fleet of Cadillacs at $11 an hour, and you have the Zipcar over there running a fleet of Honda Accords for $12.50 an hour. The economics doesn't make sense to me in terms of that. Obviously, Zipcar has a good market share here, and maybe Maven won't be able to grab that. But in terms of simple business math, I think Maven's set for the future. I think Enterprise has a very good start in terms of what they're doing here. I think Zipcar was the first entry to this market, and they do have a good market share here. I do believe that Enterprise and Maven will own more of the market than Zipcar. Just in terms, I don't like unlocking the vehicle with the card the whole time. Obviously, Maven has the phone, but with Zipcar, they're charging you more per the hour than the other two services, and you have the inconvenience of actually using the card every time you get in and out, which is extremely frustrating. And sometimes it doesn't always work on the first try, and it's not always quick. And it's kind of sketchy, to be honest. What if the technology fails? Which is the case with anything. But in terms of what I'd recommend people to use, I'd recommend you sign up for Enterprise Car Share. That I'm not paid to say that. So Enterprise Car Share, that's what I recommend you to sign up. And I also recommend you to sign up for Maven too, because Maven doesn't cost you anything additional. The only thing you pay, I think, if you're in Massachusetts, you pay $10 one-time annual convention charge, something the Massachusetts state government made up. Something that's not real, but they charge you it. So you'd have to pay $10 for Enterprise in addition to anything. So on your first ride, you pay an extra $10. Same thing with Maven, same thing with Zipcar. But I'd recommend you get Enterprise and get Maven too, because Maven doesn't charge you anything in terms of signing up. It's free, it's easy, and gives you more options in terms of what you can use. You can use competitive, say you're looking for the next Saturday. What do you want to do? You can compare the two prices right there. So you don't have to pick one. Zipcar is cool. It's convenient. If there's one literally right at your building or in your parking garage or something like that, maybe it's worth it for you. But in terms of what's worth it, it's Enterprise. It definitely is them. They charge you less. I think it's easier to use in my opinion. I do wish they did let you in, like I said. If you're there a couple minutes early, you should be able to get in the vehicle. Because it's kind of weird just standing around the vehicle. People look at you funny. So that's it for the review presented by Trifecta Network. Our next review will maybe be about a story that happened this past weekend. It they didn't rub me the right way in terms of service and customer service. We might have a little restaurant review coming up. A couple restaurants, one that's a little bit new in the Boston area, and one that's been around for a while. So stay tuned to that. Make sure to like and subscribe this video and share it on the social media if you liked it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns about Enterprise, Zipcar, or Maven, please leave it in the comment section below. I'll try to answer it as quickly as possible, and if not, I can probably point you to the right point of contact within those companies to actually inquire about any of this stuff. Thank you. Have a great day.